I would like to speak to you this morning about a phenomenon which C.S. Lewis has called the inner ring. From the outset, I must confess that I have nothing original of my own to say, and that virtually every thought that I have to offer comes from Lewis's pen. I confess this for two reasons. First, because my plagiarism becomes a little less dishonest by being acknowledged, and second, because I am going to make generalizations and statements which I, as a young person, have no authority or experience to make on my own. Although the concept is terribly difficult to define, an inner ring is basically an informal group of people who are more in the know or in than the people around them. It is not easy, even at a given moment, to say who is in and who is outside. Some people are obviously in, some people are obviously out, but always there are several on the borderline. Because there are no formal admissions or expulsions, people think they are in after they have in fact been pushed out, or before they have been admitted. Although Lewis refers to it as the inner ring, it has no fixed name. From inside it may be called you and Tony and me, or confidently, we. When it has to be expanded to meet a particular emergency, it calls itself all of the sensible people at this place. From the outside, especially by those who have despaired of ever getting in, it may simply be called they, or so-and-so and his cronies, or the student government clique. Now the difference between an inner ring and any normal organization is that in any wholesome group of people which holds together for a good purpose, the exclusions are, in a sense, accidental. For instance, in a band or a baseball team or a bridge party, you can't hold more than about 20 fellas on a baseball team. But the genuine inner ring exists for exclusion. There'd be no fun if there were no outsiders. Exclusion is no accident. It is the essence. Badly as I may have described it, I hope that you recognize the thing that I'm describing. You have probably all met the phenomenon of the inner ring. You discovered that one existed in your dormitory floor before the end of the first term. Even when you made it into choir or band or that society that you wanted so badly to make, perhaps you found that there was an intangible inner ring that still excluded you. And when you had made it into that ring, perhaps you discovered that within the ring there was a ring yet more inner, a group of people who were really in the know and who secretly scorned fellow inner ringers who weren't quite up to snuff. Right at this moment, invisible to you and to me, there are several inner rings present in this chapel setting. And Lewis assures us that wherever we may go in life, there we will find the rings. The existence of the inner rings, therefore, is unavoidable, and perhaps the rings are not an evil in themselves. But the desire which draws us to the inner rings is another matter. One of the most dominant elements in all men's lives is the desire to be inside the local ring, and the terror of being left outside. The desire is as real as the rings. My main purpose in this talk is simply to convince you, as Lewis has convinced me, that this desire to gain entrance into inner rings is one of the great permanent mainsprings of human action. It is one of the factors that go to make up this world as we know it, this whole pell-mell of struggle, competition, graft, confusion, disappointment, and advertisement. And if it is one of the permanent mainsprings, then we may be quite sure of this. Unless we take measures to prevent it, this desire is going to be one of the chief motives of our lives, from the first day on which we enter our professions until the day on which we are too old to care. Any other kind of life, if we lead it, will be the result of conscious effort. If we do nothing about it, if we drift with the stream, we will in fact be an inner ringer. We may not be successful ones, but in one way or another, we will be what Lewis calls that kind of a man. Now there are two reasons why we do not really want to become that kind of man. The first reason that we do not want to be dominated by the desire to gain entrance into an inner ring is that of all the passions that influence our lives, The passion for the inner ring is the most skillful in making a man who is not yet a bad man do very bad things. Now, the law of averages says that some of us in this room are likely to do very bad things in our lifetime. In fact, by the choices we make in our lives, a few of us will probably become downright scoundrels. But very few of us will ever be faced with clear-cut choice as to whether we are to become a scoundrel or not. Rather, the choices which lead to our ruin will more likely come over a drink or a cup of coffee from the lips of a man or a woman who is in an inner ring which we wish desperately to enter. Just at the moment when we wish most anxiously not to appear naive or a prude, the hint will come. It will be the hint of something that is not quite in accordance with the technical rules of fair play. But something, says our new friend, which we always do, and you and I will be drawn in because we want so desperately to become a part of this special we. We cannot bear the thought of having failed the test for the inner ring. Our innocent desire to be in has led us to do things which we would never have been willing to do on our own. The second reason for fighting against our inborn desire of the inner ring has to do with what the inner ring can offer us, or to be more precise, what no inner ring can ever offer us. For in seeking to gain the security of an inner ring, we are trying to peel an onion. If we succeed, there will be nothing left. The circle cannot have from within the charms that it held from outside, for by the very act of admitting you or me, it loses its magic. Once it has lost its novelty, the members of this circle will be no more interesting to us than our old friends. Why should they be? We merely wanted to be in, and that is a pleasure that cannot last. We will always, therefore, be looking for another ring, perhaps a more inner ring, perhaps a different ring. The old ring will now only be the drab background for our endeavor to enter the new one, because until we have conquered our fear of being an outsider, we shall remain outsiders. This, then, is the main reason for curbing our covetousness of the inner ring. The quest for the inner ring will break our hearts unless we break it. But if we do break it, a surprising result will follow. Let us take, for example, what our life can be like after graduation, when we are settled in an occupation. If in our working hours we make our work our end, we will presently find ourselves all unawares inside the only circle in our profession that really matters. We will be one of the sound craftsmen, and the other sound craftsmen will know it. Now, this group of craftsmen will by no means correspond with the people in the know, or the inner ring, but it will do those things which our profession exists to do, and it will also be, in the long run, responsible for the respect which our profession enjoys. And if in our spare time we consort with the people we like simply because we like them, we will again find that we have come unawares to a real inside, that we are indeed snug and safe at the center of something which, when viewed from the outside, would look very much like an inner ring. Unlike an inner ring, however, this group is built on friendship. Aristotle placed it among the virtues. It causes perhaps half of all the happiness in the world, and no inner ring can ever have it. To us, the world seems full of insides, full of delightful intimacies and confidentialities, and naturally we desire to enter them. But if we follow that desire, we will reach no inside worth reaching. The true road lies in quite another direction, to a circle which, because it is bounded by love, cannot exclude any man who seeks to enter. That circle alone has anything of worth to offer us, and the qualifications for entry into that circle are the only ones that we can ever hope to meet. These are the qualifications. Ask, and it will be given you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Our happiness and fulfillment, therefore, lie in a circle that is not really an inner ring at all, but the all-embracing ring of a God who is love.